Hi, YouTube. I want to share a little known fact with you, which is that Anna Rugg had a well-documented history of trying to rope young men to co-commit crimes with her. This evidence was denied to being admitted at trial because Judge Francis Kearney reasoned that, well, just because she tried to get men from the past to commit crimes, whatever, Sean chose to participate. But what they really didn't take into consideration was the fact that Anna was ready to murder human beings. She made that very clear. And she also had a deadly weapon, a big knife. And so what you begin to see as you study this case is that, yes, Nick Hammond was the victim, but he wasn't the only victim. Sean was Anna Rugg's second victim. She tried to blame the whole crime on Sean. She tried to claim Sean had kidnapped her. She has a well-documented history of trying to frame other young men on, basically let me rephrase that. She had a well-documented history of trying to lure young men into being around while she committed a crime so that if caught, she could blame the male one. And she was technically female. She wanted to use her femaleness to her advantage. But Sean was afraid for his physical safety because she was ready to kill. She had a knife. Sean also was afraid she would turn around and blame the whole thing on him, even though it was her idea, and she was the one driving this crime. So that's one thing to know. Another thing to know is that at some point during this saga, Anna Rugg took Sean's kind of girlfriend, Erin Hughes, to see Anna's uncle. Anna asked her uncle for advice on what to do in this situation. She explained what had happened, and what do we do? And the uncle said to Anna in front of Erin. And then Erin told Sean at a later time all of this, and that's how I know, and that's how I'm telling you. Here's what the uncle said. Hey, Anna, niece Anna. Yeah, Sean's seen a lot. He's seen what you did to Nick. He knows the situation, so you might have to kill Sean. You might have to kill Sean, especially if you sense resistance from him. I think Sean intuitively knew his life was at stake. So that's why he sort of went along, but then secretly, covertly sabotaged Anna's attempts to kill Nick Hammond. At the end of the day, it's, I believe, because of Sean. That's the only reason why Nick Hammond is still alive today. It's because he was witness to what Anna had done. He could tell, and he did tell. He's really the most honest, truthful one in this whole story. To be honest, after I've studied it, the cops weren't ethical and moral. Anna certainly wasn't. Nick certainly wasn't. He lied on the stand. Erin Hughes, it wasn't that she was unethical, but she didn't stand up and say what she witnessed because the authorities scared her out of doing so. I guess that was ethically okay for her to not speak the truth. Okay. I can understand why she'd be afraid, because she could have faced murder charges for just being there. God, this case is just such an example of broken justice and the ineptitude and immorality and unethical nature of broken government systems. A man has spent 2 decades in prison. He probably deserved, I don't know, a few years in prison. He didn't deserve life in prison. Certainly didn't deserve the 20 years he's already served. He was not guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. He was not guilty of kidnapping for extortion, and yet he was charged and found guilty of those crimes and given life sentences for them. The system allowed this to happen. The system is broken. Sean's maybe guilty of robbery and car theft. That's basically it. The fact is, furthermore, that Sean was Nick's savior. He got a tool to turn off the water Nick had set off on himself in a closed room. Not good. He tried to break the glass to release Nick from the room, and Nick admitted that on the stand. Sean also tried to unscrew the glass that was in place. And had authorities taken fingerprints, they would have found that evidence, but they didn't do a proper investigation. Sean wanted Nick to get himself out of the room when they weren't around. That was his primary goal, but Nick didn't. It didn't happen. So instead, Sean stuck around. He ensured Anna did not murder Nick. He tried to get Anna to think Nick was dead and then let's leave. But he made sure that there was no way Nick died from the water or from the car exhaust. He just wanted Anna to believe the car exhaust did the job when it didn't, and he knew it didn't because he didn't connect the hose to the room Nick was in. Anyway, the point of this video was mostly to share with you all. Did you know Anna was carrying a big knife? Did you know Anna's uncle advised her to kill Sean? Did you know Anna was bigger than Sean? Did you know Anna had a record of trying to lure young men into her crime scenes so she could blame crimes on them? Did you know all this? You probably didn't. You know why? The courts didn't allow this information in because they don't care about the full story. They don't care about the truth, clearly. I care about the truth. I care about the full story, don't you? And this is part of the equation. What you begin to see if you study the case like I have for several years, you begin to see Anna had two victims in this instance, Nick and Sean. Sean was her second victim. Sean was also Nick Hammond's victim because Nick lied on the stand about what had happened to make Sean look more guilty and for jurors to believe Nick was on the brink of death and it was all Sean's fault, and that was a lie through Nick Hammond's teeth. Sean was a victim of the police who planted evidence. Sean was a victim of the attorneys who charged Sean with crimes he wasn't actually guilty of and then insisted jurors find him guilty. Sean's also a victim of the attorneys not allowing in the truth, scaring away eyewitnesses, scaring away relevant information like Aaron Hughes's testimony. Sean is a victim of the judge, Francis Kearney, who chose to not allow in relevant information, which would have shown Sean was Anna's victim. Sean's also Francis Kearney's victim because somehow what she said convinced jurors that they could vote Sean guilty of conspiracy to commit murder because Anna had intent to kill, even though jurors knew Sean had no intent to kill, and that's a requirement to find someone guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Sean's also a victim of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. He's been in torture in hell for 2 decades. Prison sucks. It's traumatizing. Sean also, by the way, was raised by the state of California. Don't know if you guys know that, but he was an orphan at 8 years old. The state raised Sean. The state created Sean. Now, how much responsibility do they have in this situation? Anyway, point of this video is just for you to understand Anna was armed with a deadly weapon. She made it clear she was willing to kill a human being. Sean had known her for 2 weeks. They were not great friends. They were surviving on the streets together as homeless teenagers. Anna was unethical, aggressive, hostile, unstable, ready to kill. Sean didn't want to be someone that was killed. He also did not want Nick Hammond to die, and he stuck around and protected Nick by sabotaging Anna's efforts. And at the end of the day, he still got a 25 to life sentence for a murder that never happened, based on intent to kill that he did not have, fed by lies from the only victim, who now, and for 8 years, has admitted his perjury. I mean, the whole case is an example of what happens when government goes bad and can't figure out the truth and doesn't want the truth, just wants their convictions. More convictions from the district attorney? Great. Doesn't matter if people are deserving. Severe sentences? Over punishment? That's our America today. And it has been for a long time. And taxpayers pay $106,000 per year per person in California prisons. We've got, I think around 90 to 100,000 people in prison in California. You do the math. We spend a lot of money on prisons. We spend more money on prisons than we do on our schools for our children. That is a travesty, if you ask me. You know who's in prison? Poor people. Traumatized people, but poor people. If you're rich, you buy your way out of prison 9 times out of 10. It's not right. Justice should be fair. Justice should care about the truth, the facts, not narratives that have been spun in immoral ways, like District Attorney William Markey did in the 2003 trial. He allowed perjured testimony right into the courtroom, and he knew it. At one point, he yelled to yelled out loud in the courtroom, "Shut up!" Because he wanted someone to shut up. He didn't want the truth of what that person wanted to say. That guy's a monster, if you ask me. Placer County's a monster, too. They've had multiple chances to right this wrong, and they stick to their guns. Those good old boys and good old girls, gals, they stick to their guns. They've been told the only victim in the trial lied. If you read the juror notes, you'll see they were confused. They were regretful. They were like, oh, one of the jurors begged the authority, he used the word beg. I beg you to resentence Sean Rodriguez. This is way too much. Several jurors, I think probably every single juror believes Sean was overpunished with a 25 to life sentence in a crime where nobody even was physically harmed. What the heck is that all about? And that just cost taxpayers about $2.5 million to send Sean to prison for 25 years. Stupid, stupid government. Crooked, immoral, unethical. The facts and the truth don't even really matter, do they? Horrible. Horrible, 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 and inexcusable. Needs to be fixed. #help free Sean. Bye, everyone.